For years, we've all heard the same thing about Bitcoin. It's digital gold, super valuable for sure, but it kind of just sits there. Well, today we're going to talk about Lombard, a company that's trying to change all of that, to finally unlock the real power of Bitcoin and let it loose across the entire crypto world. And that really is the big question, isn't it? I mean, think about it. Bitcoin is the king, the OG, the most valuable crypto asset out there by a mile. It's the whole reason this industry even exists. And yet, most of it is just sitting in wallets, gathering digital dust. So what if all that value, all that capital, could finally be put to work? That's the puzzle we're digging into. I mean, for 16 years, Bitcoin has been the foundation for everything. It inspired DeFi, it inspired stablecoins, it kicked off this entire on-chain revolution we're all a part of. But it's kind of like the parent who threw a massive party, and now all the cool kids are having fun while the parent is stuck in the kitchen. The ecosystems it created are exploding with activity, but Bitcoin itself, it's been stuck on the sidelines. So that brings us to our first big idea here. Bitcoin as this incredible sleeping giant. You see, for all its value, Bitcoin has always had this one major problem. It couldn't really play in the sandbox it created. It couldn't natively participate in all the DeFi stuff. Imagine you own a literal mountain of gold, but there's no way to lend it out, earn interest on it, or use it as collateral for a loan. That's basically been the story of Bitcoin, until now. All right, but this is where the story gets really interesting, because a new player has stepped onto the field with one single massive goal: to wake that giant up. And that player is Lombard. They just got started in 2024, and their entire mission is to build the financial plumbing, the capital markets that Bitcoin needs to finally get off the sidelines and get in the game directly on-chain. They're building the highways to let all that sleepy capital finally move. So how do they do it? Well, the key is this thing called LBTC. You can think of it as staked Bitcoin. It's a liquid staked token, which sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. You take your Bitcoin, you lock it up to help keep the network secure, and in return, you get this LBTC token. It's like a claim check, a receipt for your Bitcoin, but this receipt is alive. You can trade it, lend it, use it as collateral, basically do all the cool DeFi stuff you could never do with your regular BTC. Okay, so it's a cool idea, right? But the real question is, did anyone actually want this? Well, that takes us to our next part, because what happened next was, it was an absolute explosion. It proved the world was more than ready. The market's reaction was just insane. $1 billion. That's how much value poured into Lombard's system. A number like that just screams that there was this massive pent-up demand to finally do something with all this Bitcoin. But honestly, the dollar amount isn't even the craziest part. It's how fast it happened. All of that, $1 billion, flowed in just 92 days. 92. To give you some context, that made LBTC the single fastest growing yield-bearing token in the entire history of crypto, period. The market wasn't just interested, it was absolutely starving for a solution like this. And the impact was even bigger than not. In total, Lombard brought in over $2 billion of net new liquidity. And that's a key phrase, net new. This wasn't just DeFi regulars shuffling their money around. This was fresh capital coming into the ecosystem. And it wasn't just in one place. It spread across 12 different blockchains, acting like this super connector, a bridge between the lonely island of Bitcoin and the bustling mainland of DeFi. And you know what happens when a tidal wave of $2 billion shows up? Everyone pays attention. Suddenly, the biggest names in DeFi, we're talking heavy hitters like Aave, Morpho, Eigenlayer, they all snapped their heads around and, for the first time ever, started making Bitcoin integrations a top priority. Lombard basically forced the entire industry to remember just how powerful Bitcoin could be. It sparked a full-on Bitcoin DeFi renaissance. Okay, so that initial growth is wild, but it turns out it's just the opening act. This is just step one in a much, much bigger game plan. So let's talk about the long-term vision here. And they put it out there pretty bluntly. Their vision is to be the driving force for Bitcoin on-chain, just as Circle and Tether were for stablecoins. Whoa. Okay, so that tells you everything you need to know about their ambition. They're not just trying to build a popular product, they want to become the fundamental layer, the core infrastructure for an entirely new on-chain Bitcoin economy. And that comparison is just perfect. You have to really let it sink in. Think about what Circle and Tether did. They took the US dollar and created these programmable digital versions, USDC and USDT, that literally became the blood in the veins of DeFi. Lombard is saying, we're going to do that, but for Bitcoin. They want to be the ones to make Bitcoin the bedrock asset for the next generation of finance.
Now, a vision that big, I mean, talk is cheap, right? You need some serious firepower and real expertise to even attempt something like this. So the natural next question is, who is actually behind all this?
Well, first off, the security isn't just one company's problem. It's managed by what they call a security consortium, which is basically a who's who of crypto institutions. We're talking OKX, Galaxy, Wintermute. I mean, the list goes on. By spreading out the responsibility, they make the whole system way more secure and decentralized, which is something you absolutely need when you're talking about securing billions of dollars of other people's Bitcoin.
And the team building it? Just as stacked. It's an all-star roster pulled from the biggest names in the game. Polychain, Coinbase, Ripple, Maple. These aren't newbies trying to figure things out. This is a team of veterans. It's safe to say this is not their first rodeo. They know exactly what they're doing.
So all of this leaves us with one massive final question. For 16 years, we've had Bitcoin's Act 1, the store of value, the digital gold. But now, with the tools and the liquidity that Lombard is injecting into the system, are we right now at this very moment watching the curtain rise on Bitcoin's second act, its transformation into the most powerful, productive, and foundational asset in a truly new on-chain economy? Makes you think, doesn't it?